Which channels were producing the most revenue. We didn't know, which ones had the highest conversion rates. And the focus was just, well, we just need more leads. We just need more leads. Somebody said to me once, there's organizations that are drunk on leads. And I think we were probably that way.
Welcome to another episode of Success Leads Marketing Podcast, where we highlight step-by-step how your peers are successfully overcoming their biggest challenges. So today I'm excited to be with Katie Bullard. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So Katie's the Chief Growth Officer at DiscoverOrg. I'm sure you've all heard of DiscoverOrg and all the success that they've had, but we're going to be talking just today, just diving into the way that you pivoted from a model of lead quantity to lead quality. This is a topic that's hot with a lot of marketers. So it'll be fun to just dive into the story, the way you saw that challenge initially, and then we'll talk about how you tactically executed on that. So if you just first kind of give us a time period when and kind of dive into how the challenge and how you would describe the challenge facing.
Absolutely. So first I'll preface this by saying, it's always funny when you talk to a company that helps other companies deliver quality leads like DiscoverOrg, and we have our own challenges related to that. So we work really hard to practice what we preach, and there are some times that we do it really well, and other times where we find that we've got a real opportunity to improve. And so it was about 18 months ago, I came on board to DiscoverOrg, and the biggest challenge that we were having was that the marketing team was generating a decent number of leads. I think it was about 40% of our revenue at the time was coming from marketing, but the conversion rates of those leads into demos wasn't great, and we had no tracking to know what happened beyond that point. So we didn't know how much we didn't know which channels were producing the most revenue. We didn't know, which ones had the highest conversion rates. And the focus was just, well, we just need more leads. We just need more leads. Somebody said to me once, there's organizations that are drunk on leads. And I think we were probably that way early on. And I think a lot of the companies I talk to are that way. To them, it's all about lead quantity. And what I recognized was as soon as we started actually looking at our lead channels, there were a few that were working really well in terms of just converting to demos, because that's all we knew. It's all we had visibility into. And others that were bringing us a ton of leads, but were very rarely converting into demos. And so for me, I thought about our partnership with the sales team, right? The way that you build a really strong partnership is that what marketing is delivering is really high quality leads that convert to demos, that convert to opportunities and pipeline, that convert to new customers at a much higher rate. And sometimes what that means is you actually deliver less leads, which is like, oh my goodness. But in the end, what you end up with is more demos, more pipeline, and more wins. And so it was about, like I said, it was about 18 months ago where we started having this conversation that, hey, there are a couple of places that we are investing right now that, yes, are driving a lot of leads, but are not delivering anything beyond that. And I would rather take our resources and put them somewhere else, knowing that in the short term, we're probably going to see a dip in the number of leads, and make sure that everybody felt comfortable with that. And so that was a tough conversation to have.
Oh, I can't imagine. It's just the feeling of wait, so we're about to do less leads. I've got to make sure I have executive buy-in, all that. So this is end of 2016, early 2017, the year.
Exactly.
What made you realize that you had this challenge? Why did you have to make a change then?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that we had just done was we just implemented a tool called Full Circle Insights, which was a marketing attribution tool that sits on top of our Marketo and Salesforce instance, and was really for the first time giving us visibility into what was happening to these leads. The other thing that was happening at the same time is, we were seeing these conversion rates decline from a lead to demo perspective. And I wanted to turn that around really quickly. And the only way to do that was to figure out, how could we invest more in the channels that were working really well. And so in particular, we had this one channel, which was, I think it was our second biggest source of leads at the time, that was, quite frankly, they were sort of junk leads. They were making us feel good, pat ourselves on the back. We were hitting our lead quantity numbers, but the sales guys didn't enjoy following up on them. They were sort of never qualified leads. And so what we did was we literally just stopped sending that whole group of leads over to the sales team. And at the same time, what we did was we took our SDR team and we focused our SDR team a little bit better as well. So our inbound leads had a dedicated team, and our outbound prospecting had a dedicated SDR team. And by doing those two things together, sort of removing this sort of channel of junk leads and focusing our SDR team, we literally doubled conversion rates in a single quarter, which meant even though our leads were down slightly, we were seeing, 50% more demos coming out of those leads. And I think being able to see that momentum pretty quickly allowed everybody to get on board with this idea that it was okay if leads, were a little bit down initially, so that we could get better quality leads. Now, they didn't stay down. We got them back up, but that was really the initial place we started.
That makes sense. So, one of the questions that someone has asked is just around the integration of sales to this. Because it's like so crucial here. And like, can you just walk us step by step? Like, did you schedule a meeting with the VP of sales and said, hey, this is what we're going to do? Or were they coming to you saying, here's the problem?
So in my situation, I think there was a recognition that there was an issue even before I came on board. In my initial conversations with our CRO, my initial conversations with the CEO, even before I started, the discussion was, we don't know what's happening to the leads. We know that there's a lot of leads coming in, but we're not sure that they're great quality leads. So I knew there was already a little bit of this conversation. As soon as we got the data that said these lead channels are working well and these lead channels aren't, absolutely had a conversation with the CEO and the CRO and said, look, here's what I'm proposing. I suggest that we stop sending you leads from this channel and we redirect those efforts. That means leads are going to go down for a short period of time. Are you guys okay with that? And here's what I think is going to happen. And so got their buy-in before we actually made that decision.
That makes sense. Okay. So you did that. Like, what was the next thing you did? Was it literally just like you go and contact those other channels and just cut it off cold turkey?
Yeah. So these particular channels, they were channels that we owned. They were like microsites that we were running. And so essentially what we did is we stopped investing more resources and optimizing in our SEO for those particular sites. And instead we transferred our SEO efforts to our main website, which quite frankly had a great lead engine, and the leads that were coming in were converting really well. So we brought on a director of digital marketing who was just a whiz in SEO. And we started, making structural changes to the website, focusing on our backlinking strategy, making sure that all of our tagging was working well on the site, because we knew that was the most efficient way to generate leads, demos, and revenue. And that's exactly what we started to see.
So did you look before that and you said that was your high, like, could you tell us the actual channels? Like, give us an idea of those channels, like performing well, not performing well?
So we had because we put Full Circle in place, we had about 3 months of data. So it wasn't a ton of data, but we had about 3 months of data to be able to see which channels were performing well and which channels were not.
Got it. And so wait, and did you buy Full Circle as a way to help you get to this? Or did you? Okay. So when you first came on board, you're like, we've got to get some visibility.
We have to get some visibility. Like if the challenge is we don't know whether these leads are good or not, we've got to get some way of tracking what's happening to those leads, again, all the way through to the funnel. And so that was the very first thing we did. We had a couple months of data that said these channels are working well, these aren't. That's when I said, look, we've got to pivot. It's not all about quantity. We've got to focus on the channels that are bringing in the best quality leads. And that means, every once in a while, like, we might have a flat month, or especially early on, or we might actually see a small dip in leads, but I promise you, pipeline's going to be higher, revenue's going to be higher, the relationship between sales and marketing is going to be better, and it's exactly what we saw. If
you're going to do less leads, so you're automatically looking potentially worse in the organization just from the old-fashioned way, like initially, and then you probably feel more of a pressure to make sure that sales is like working them properly and that that's not getting dropped off, because there's less, like, don't drop those.
Right.
So, could you like help someone who's like, I'm still concerned that like the integration is not proper and it's actually not going to go up. The demos aren't going to go up.
Like I said, one of the things that we did at the exact same time that we were pivoting these lead channels is we took a look at the SDR team and we said, how can we make some structural changes to the SDR team so that they can follow up on the best leads, and there's no struggle between whether they should follow up on an inbound lead that comes from marketing or whether they should be focused on outbound prospecting. Because by the way, we also have a set of named accounts that we want our SDR and account execs to go after. And when I first came on board, the same SDR was doing both. He was following up on inbound leads and he was doing outbound prospecting. And so what we did was, and again, this was like a joint effort between the sales and the marketing team, was we decided to split the SDR team into an outbound group and an inbound group. And so the inbound group was only focused on inbound leads. They had a 90-second SLA reply time, right? They had to follow up within 90 seconds because we knew that the faster we would follow up, the higher our conversion rates were. And it was a really great place for a brand new SDR to start, right? Because following up on an inbound lead of somebody saying, hey, I want a demo, is a lot easier than cold calling. So we would start them out. We started them out on the inbound team, and that immediately, like I said, we saw a doubling in the conversion rate of our inbound lead because they were focused there and they weren't trying to figure out if they needed to divert attention from inbound to outbound. And then at the same time, we had an outbound team that had named accounts. So this was sort of our foray into account-based marketing, which we've expanded upon since then. But our outbound team had a set of named accounts. They were paired up with an account exec, and they would, do cold prospecting, emails, phone calls, social engagement into those named accounts. And again, they weren't distracted by inbound leads coming into them. So it worked out really, really well. And the added benefit was it created a professional career path for our SDRs as well, where now they start out on the inbound team, they move to the outbound team, and then they moved into account exec role. So in order to make sure that that whole process worked really smoothly and, inbound leads were being followed up on and we were getting the most out of them, outbound leads or outbound named accounts were being followed up on, we had a whole strategy session with the sales and the marketing team together where we got completely aligned on our language, on our terminology, on the KPIs that we were going to use to measure success, both on the inbound side and on the outbound side. And then we had our ops team, both on the sales side and the marketing side, building the tools and building the reports to match that process. I think that a lot of times people, they buy the tool and they buy the technology and they just assume that that's what's going to give them the answer. And they skip the part where, no, you actually have to define what you want to track and how you're going to define success. And we had several strategy sessions as a combined team where we did that. And then we made sure that the tools fit that process.
Got it. So you literally had not bought the tools yet. You had those strategies sessions.
Yeah, we did. Yes, exactly. We said, this is how we're going to measure, this is what it is going to mean for sales to accept a lead. This is what we're going to need in order for the account exec to create an opportunity. When we just call it pipeline, it's going to have reached this stage, right? And these are the conversion rates that we expect to see all the way through this funnel. Now, I know a lot of times people are like, oh, the old funnel is dead. It's all about ABM. And I would say there is some truth to that. But when you're in a market like we are, where you have a really big universe of target buyers, we have a pretty short sales cycle. We have, a huge inbound lead engine. There is a place for that traditional funnel.
The way that you piloted this to get trust, is there something small that you did to start to say hey, we're not just doing all this. It's not just press go. It sounded like you did it in phases. Could you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I think identifying that one lead channel that wasn't performing very well and saying, hey, we're going to stop sending leads from this one channel first, and we're going to redirect those efforts into our existing website was sort of that was, I would say, the experimental approach that we took there, as opposed to saying, we're going to change up all of our, lead gen practices, and we're going to move money, into all kinds of new channels. We did it with one channel that wasn't performing. And we said, trust us that by, redirecting these efforts, we'll actually see better quality leads. We saw that very, very quickly. And I think because of that, we've now been able over the last 12 months to make other small pivots like that.
Yeah, that's really good. Is there anything you could give us about the actual agreement between sales and marketing?
Yeah. So when I first came on board, I will say the conversion rates from a lead to a demo was about 20%. And what we saw was we could get it up to 40%. And so we now have a joint SLA between the two teams. The inbound leads convert to a demo 40% of the time. The inbound SDRs know that metric. Our team knows that metric, and we're constantly looking at it. And by the way, we now have an SLA that 50% of all revenue has to come from marketing sourced leads. And so the marketing team has a revenue number that's in front of them at all times as well. And when I tell the new sales guys that when they come on board, that look, marketing owns this, our team is bonused on it as well, that actually builds a lot of trust between the two teams.
That makes so much sense. No, I appreciate that. Trying to think. So is there anything else in terms of the solution that you implemented to get from 20% demos to 40% conversion? Is there anything else that you implemented? I mean, you changed the way the SDRs were working. You bought Full Circle to understand that. Is there anything else that you kind of had to put together to make that happen?
Changing the structure, bringing in Full Circle, putting more resources into our higher converting channels like our website, some of our email marketing programs that were working really well. We also got a lot smarter, and this was sort of, our path to ABM. We got a lot smarter about our ad strategy, our email strategy, our event strategy, where we fit rank all of our target accounts, and we put the most effort behind our highest ranked accounts. And so, a lot of times people feel like they're inbound and ABM are mutually exclusive, and they aren't the same thing, but you can be really smart about how you target inbound leads and, how you filter for those best fit leads. And so that was what we did on the inbound side. At the same time, we started to experiment with ABM as well, because we knew that would also increase our conversion rates. And the way that we did that was we did it kind of like what you were asking for earlier. Did we do it in bite-sized chunks? We absolutely did it in bite-sized chunks. We started with one of our product solutions. We sell our product based on data sets. So you sell to a sales or marketing person. I sell to a sales or marketing person. I would buy the DiscoverOrg sales and marketing data set. Well, we had come out with a new data set, which was our HR data set. So HR tech company sells to the head of HR. And it was a market where we didn't have a ton of brand awareness. We didn't have a big inbound lead channel. But we knew there was huge opportunity, a ton of greenfield. And so, again, we sat down with sales and we mapped out an ABM strategy where we came up with a list of about 200 target accounts, best fit target accounts. We started doing ads to those target accounts before we ever started doing any outreach, because we wanted to increase brand awareness. Then we started to do personalized emails, personalized calls, personalized social engagement. Marketing would follow that up with a direct mail piece at the right time in the sales process. And then we did some really specialized events for these HR data set buyers. And what we saw was that we had a 50% conversion rate to a demo from those initial group of accounts, which again is even better than what we were seeing from our website. And these were accounts who didn't know about us before. So that was sort of how we blended our ABM efforts with our inbound efforts. And it's worked out really well.
That's great. And so how big of the sales team did you take off to do that? Did you
one account exec and one SDR for this particular HR experiment. We've now done it again with our new legal and compliance data set. And again, it was one account exec and one SDR who were focused on this new market.
Full-time, those two people doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
That is great. This is perfect. So just a couple of questions. What is if you could talk to your old self before you went through this, maybe say it's like the beginning of 2017 when you had this initial challenge, like what's a pothole that you like thought you wish you knew about or that you'd want to tell someone who's about to embark on this?
Sure. I think that, I think it is still always easy to get into the trap of thinking that leads are up, so pat ourselves on the back. Even now, after we've gone through this pivot, we saw a dip in leads, we saw the conversion rates go up. The great thing is leads are now way back up to above where they were previously. And sometimes it's easy to get just super excited about the volume of those leads. And I think that the trick is always staying maniacally focused on what's happening to that through the entire sales process. So that would be one. Two would be, I think sales and marketing did a really good job of working together through this process. That it can always be better. That can always be better. And so I would say, doing check-ins all along the way. We did, I think, a really great job up front of like architecting what our new process was going to look like, architecting what the KPIs were going to look like, building the tools to measure that. And then we saw such great success early that we probably didn't sort of stay on top of that as well as we could have, right? I think that's always something that's important. And so I'd say sort of never being happy with initial success, and always sort of maintaining that pace of checking in with each other and making sure things are working. One of the things that we have layered in since then is a whole channel of warm leads where, we're scoring leads, we are bringing in content syndication leads, and that was a new approach for us. And it's a very different model than an inbound lead that says, I want a demo. And so I think, because we've been successful early on, we sort of used the same model as we brought the warm leads on. And there probably was an opportunity to actually rethink that whole process as well, right, when we started to bring that new channel on board.
Katie, thank you so much for your time and answering just all these questions and diving into that story. I'm so excited about it. I know people are going to love it.
Good. Well, hopefully it's helpful. I think we all learn from both our successes and our challenges, and we're really proud of what we've built here, both from the sales side and the marketing side of the house. And we're really proud of how well we work together. And hopefully there's a few little tidbits that were helpful.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Another great episode of Successfully Live.
Thanks, Adam.